this is what's happening in our lives when we're talking about allowing. If you look at your life like a house and everything that comes in the door, you get to say yes or no to. That is like how you need to look at it. Is this serving me? Is this creating the house that I want to have? Is this creating the environment that I want to have? Yeah. And then also we have to look at the ways that we are preventing ourselves from receiving. When we're saying no, when we should say yes. When we're not asking for help, when we should ask for help. When we're not allowing people to show up for us because we don't want to appear weak and vulnerable or whatever. I will tell you, the people around you that love you, that you can trust, that you can be vulnerable and safe with, want to do stuff for you. Mm-hmm. They want to do things for you. Yeah. Let them. Mm-hmm. Let them.
Let them. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Say More Words. I am so excited. I'm so excited because my favorite person is here with me today, and I can't wait to tell you about her, and I can't wait for the conversation. But before we get started, and before I formally introduce Sarah Beth Green, Sarah, what is our song of the day?
It is 1,000 Miles by Miley Cyrus.
Oh.
Yeah.
The new one?
Yeah, on the new Endless Summer album.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to play that.
Have you heard it?
I think I've heard it. It's sad, isn't it?
But
it's good.
And it's got Brandi Carlile in it.
Yes.
It's like, yeah.
It's so good.
So good. It's a good one.
Okay. Y'all, this is Sarah Beth Green, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself in her own way, but I want to tell you first who she is to me as a person. She is one of my favorite people that has ever existed on this planet. She's one of those people that when she walked in the room, I was like, that's mine. 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 She is going to be my friend for forever. So much so that her ex-husband really hated me because he thought that I hit on her inappropriately, and I do. So we're excited he's gone so I can hit on her online again. Yeah. So dumb. But look at her. She's so hot. And not only is she externally attractive, but internally she is one of the most gentle, kind, caring, centered people that exist on this planet. She sees you, she understands, all of your hurts and all of your pains and all of your joys, and by the tenfolds. And so I've enjoyed having her in my life because she is one of my spiritual advisors. She's one of the people who has helped me build my gifts and see my worth and grow into this version of who I am. When people ask, what happened over the last 5 years to take you from nothing to here, Sarah is on that list. And so I'm so excited that she's here. If you will tell them formally what you want them to know about you.
What I want them to know about me. Oh, gosh. Yeah. So first of all, Tamika and I are in a mutual admiration club. So we definitely, my husband wasn't wrong. Maybe I have a little crush on her. Yeah. And so I am a shamanic energy medicine practitioner. So I have a practice working primarily in trauma and, like Tamika said, helping people uncover their gifts. So, and a subset of my practice is conscious divorce and blended families, which I got into because I have kind of an honorary doctorate in high conflict divorce. So that's a subset, but I've been doing this work about a decade. I'm on staff at the 4-1 Society where I did my training, and have just been helping people kind of ever since, one at a time.
One at a time,
yeah.
And doing a beautiful, beautiful job at it. One of the best, I told her recently, and I'm going to tell you all, one of the greatest gifts that I have on this planet is being able to help aid in healing of people with her. So a lot of times when people work with me, I'm like, you need to go see Sarah because there's some junk we've got to clear out. The work that she's done on not just me, but my children and my family has been phenomenal. So I'm super excited that you're here. Yeah. Okay, so you are introducing our topic for today.
Okay. It's funny because we had this planned a few months ago and then had technical difficulties and we were like, we'll do it later. And, divine timing is a thing. And so, and I wasn't really sure. I knew kind of what I was going to talk about, but this morning and yesterday it was like, yes. We're going to talk about allowance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the definition of allowance, it's like what you are allowing in your life and what you are willing to bring to the table. And okay, so if we're going to talk about allowance though, I think one of the most important subcategories of that is boundaries.
Right. Right.
So what is what do you think is the biggest thing that people struggle with boundaries, and how do people set proper boundaries?
I think people struggle with they don't honor their own like internal compass when it comes to like knowing that there's a boundary that needs to get set. And it's kind of like the universe will show you like this, you need to put a stop to this, you need to put a stop to this, you need to put a stop to this. And then if we don't, the universe usually kind of comes in and does it in a big nasty way for us. And so that is, I think people they miss it. So many of us are just like in our head and we're not in tune with what's going on with our bodies and our own internal compasses. And we're just doing. And I want to talk more about that later. And we're not going, this is taking a step back or taking the time to go, this isn't what I need to have. Or there's fear, if I place a boundary, then, this will happen or whatever. There's fear of loss. There's fear of all of that. So I think that is a struggle when it comes to boundaries. But I think I always tell people I love to frame boundaries in the way of I'm happy to. So my son asked us before I left this morning, he was like, can I do X when you get done with this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do that for you as soon as your laundry is put away and the dishwasher is unloaded. And this works on adults, it works on husbands, it works on partners, it works on friends, yeah, I'm happy to do that for you as soon as you, whatever. It's like, yeah, I'll totally help you with that, but here's what I'm going to need first. I'm happy to have this conversation with you when you're calm. I'm happy to be in relationship with you once you learn how to regulate your emotions. Those sorts of things. And so that's the languaging I love to use when we're placing a boundary, because it's that I'm happy, but this needs to happen.
Ooh. Yeah. So why do you think, because you and I both work with people all day, and in fact, because we're only human, we struggle with our own boundaries.
Right.
Why do you think that people have such a hard time setting those boundaries?
I think people forget to acknowledge their worth. I think people do not own what they bring to the table, and they don't own their gifts and the sovereignty of their presence. And they forget, hey, I'm a whole lot here.
Yeah.
And and it's okay for me to ask, and it's okay for me to say no, and it's okay for me to whatever. I think it's self-worth.
Okay, so expanding on that then, like what would you say? And I think each person who heals is different. But what was the biggest aha for you that helped you develop your self-worth? Or like not even develop it. Your self-worth always exists. It's just I personally think we just bury it deep down inside, and then we have to. It's like an what is it?
Excavate.
Excavate. You have to excavate it. Like you have to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. But just like with digging, eventually you hit something that cracks and opens everything.
I think the answer to so much when people are struggling is always in service to other people. I found mine in service, in answering a calling. We all have a calling on our lives. And I think where people get it twisted is they think, oh, it means I'm supposed to be on a stage, or I'm supposed to be doing this huge work, or I'm supposed to be serving hundreds of thousands of people, or be famous or rich. And that is not all, that is very rarely your calling. I think when we say yes to our calling and we go out in search of being in service to that, we are so filled up and we feel so aligned that we begin to sit back and look at ourselves and go. And, women, we don't, this is one of the things I'm kind of working on right now, not personally, but just some programming I'm putting together. We don't sit back and take stock, and the events of the last year have allowed me to kind of sit back and go, you know what? I have built a business. I have fostered, multiple children. I wrote a book. I have survived divorce multiple times. I have raised amazing children. I do community service work. I help people. Like, I am owning that. Like, I'm claiming the space that I take up in the world with what I bring to the table. And we forget to do that. And it's frowned upon.
Actually, you just said that to me recently. I'm like, why does this hurt so bad? Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
We do. I think that also goes along with the work of that I kind of put on the table of like when you remove all of your hats, like what's left. If you remove all your roles, but also like it's that I think what you said opened my eyes, because when we remove all of our roles, sure, we can find a portion of ourselves, but we have to go back and add those. We have to add the stuff back in and be like, yes, I'm capable. Look at all of the stuff I did.
Yeah. Well, at our core, what we all are is we're all love. Like that's what we are.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we are.
What do you think is because like mine is joy, right? If I know when I'm leaning into joy, I'm leaning into love for me. What is the, like, what does the average person do to find their love?
I'm going to go back to service.
Okay.
I think we are always our best selves when we're serving other people in some way.
Yeah.
And that can mean, you know, taking some grilled cheeses to a friend. I mean, it can mean so many things. It doesn't have to be huge, extravagant things. But I think when we are starting our days with how can I serve? But I want to caveat that because as women, we often overserve. And so this is the other half of the conversation I want to come back to about how we are allowing other people to serve us. But I think that piece, that service piece, you know.
Okay, so we're going to go back to allowing other people to serve us. Expand on that.
So I think whenever we talk about what we're allowing, we always first go to that place of boundaries. That's where we go, oh, I'm not going to allow that. We go to this piece of resistance. You know, what am I allowing? Like, you know, I'm letting negative people into my life. I'm letting people come to me with their bad energy. I'm letting people dump their shit on me and not sweep it up, you know, and just leave it in a pile. Like, you know, what am I allowing there? But the piece about, like, what are we allowing as far as what are we receiving? What are we bringing in? What are we bringing in? What are we allowing to come in? What are we in resistance of not allowing ourselves to receive? There's a concept shamanically called Ayni, A-Y-N-I, and it's today for you, tomorrow to me, and it's perfect balance and reciprocity. And so, yes, if I want to wake up every day and I'm like, how can I serve today? It's also how can I allow other people or the universe to serve me?
Do you think, so when you're saying that, and tying it back to, you know, deep down inside, we are all love. If we look at love, belief, and allowing, do you think a lot of people don't feel love because they don't believe that they are worthy of people serving them, or they won't allow others to serve them?
Yeah, I think that is probably a self-worth piece too. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who is like, this is something everybody struggles with. She's like a super well-known celebrity. And I had a conversation with her yesterday as part of my work. And she came back to me and she said, I'm 70. I'm learning how to receive. You know? And I think a lot of people, I mean, are in some sort of healing work, you know, especially people that are watching this, you know, are in some sort of healing work. And so we're always in this action of going out and doing, and we forget to spend an equal amount of time in surrender and allowance and receiving. And it can be things like letting someone else pick up the check, you know, like just be like, thank you. You know, it can be just these things where if we just, we're always so in action and going to get, and we're so in that masculine energy a lot of time as women and business owners that we forget to sit in this space of, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to surrender and I'm going to receive. And I'm going to let other people do for me because I've earned it. And I deserve it. Because if I'm not allowing the same amount of reciprocity to come in, then what I'm doing is I'm out of Ayni and I'm out of balance. So we need to spend as much time being in the energy of what we're letting come into us that's good and nourishing and fulfilling as we do what we're putting out.
And I think too, the thing that like pulls in me, one of the things that I've worked on the last couple of years, and you know this, is like trying to remove this notion that I have to perform in order to be loved. And I know a lot of people who are small business owners, a lot of women who are small business owners grew up with that notion from their parents. They learned it, you learn it somewhere. And trying to get rid of I must show up in order to be loved. No, you are loved just as you are. And if you continue to perform, that's when your love gets depleted
Right.
because you're
Right.
not allowing it back in.
Right. Right. Yeah, we all tend to do that. And I think I see an epidemic, especially in women, of hyper independence.
Mm.
I think that goes back to some of the child rearing practices that our parents were raised with, where they were ignored and not, securely attached. And I think that's probably, I mean, I've tracked it back to like the 20s when child rearing practices changed in our country,
Ooh.
in our society. So we all, I think a lot of us were in this place of no one's going to do it for me. So I have to just do it for myself. That was guilty. I mean, this was a thing, in my last marriage. I mean, he wasn't going to do it, but I didn't even really give him space to do that. And so because I had this thing of I have to go do all of this and get all of this and make all this happen because no one else is going to show up for me. That is a false belief, and it's rooted in a trauma of people not showing up for us. It's rooted in abandonment.
Yeah. And from what we know to be true, a lot of abandonment trauma, I mean, unless you defeat it generation after generation after generation after generation after generation, it just keeps showing up.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of work on just being this receptive, and people that have followed me or whatever. I haven't like built a bunch of new programs this year. I've just been seeing my little clients and doing my little work at the school. I haven't done anything. But what I have done is been amazingly receptive to what is like showing up for me. And it has been like so juicy and so good to just be, I was like, I'm just gonna, my last marriage was brutal and chaotic and dramatic all the time. And I thought, I'm just gonna sit and surrender, and I'm just gonna allow, and whatever flows my way, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to be really choosy about what I allow in my space. And it's been so, 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 so good.
It has been so good.
It's been so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about how, because I know that oftentimes when we grow up in an environment where we're not either willing to receive or we're not just receiving because of the environment we're in, we can get into this space where when the good comes, we'll stop it. We'll stop allowing it to show up. We'll block it. What is a way that we can talk to ourselves to like kind of work through the blocking? And like, I guess, is it belief? You just have to believe that you're worthy of the good that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, a practice that I will do with people a lot when we're working on this stuff is I will have people like put a note in their phone, and I will have them notice everything that they're receiving throughout the day and have a small moment of gratitude for it. So that even if you just get like a good parking spot, or like somebody lets you cut in line, or your kid picks you a flower, we don't notice all the ways that we are receiving. And so when we start to notice these little tiny places every single day where things are, it's a beautiful rainbow, like look at what the universe gave me, these things we start to be able to be like, okay, that feels good. That feels good. And what we're doing is rewiring our nervous systems to allow ourselves to receive and notice ourselves receiving. And then that puts in a position of receiving even more and greater.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. And when you're saying all those things, I was thinking about one of the things I started talking to people recently about is you have to teach people how to love you. Like in order to get love, like sometimes you just have to tell them and they'll do it. And my ways of I love sunsets, I love music, like songs that make you think of somebody, and then ridiculous memes. And people and people send them to me all the time. Yeah. And every time I get it and I get to laugh and I get to experience, because I'm sure they saw it, thought of me laughing, they were laughing. And then it just feels like this combined moment of, and I never thought of that. Like that's receiving. That's my people giving me love.
That's receiving. I had a conversation with my mom on a couple of days ago, and it was a long conversation. And I got so much insight because I was talking about this concept of like, how I've been in this place of allowance and letting things flow in and letting people do for me and being soft and being vulnerable and being all of these things that as women in business we're not supposed to be. Yeah. And my mom told me, well, that her mother told her never ask someone to do for you what you can do for yourself. And she beat it into her just her whole life, which, you know, came from her mother and her mother. It's generational, right? And so I'm like, well, of course, she's raised 3 daughters that are hyper functional and don't like to allow other people to show up for us, you know, because that is in our generational DNA. So part of our work when we're healing ourselves is to rewire that.
Yeah.
And so now my job is to teach my daughters now that are adults, even I can still influence, and my sons, what it looks like for a woman to say, I need help with this.
Yeah.
And someone else to show up and do that. Or for a woman to say, I'm tired and I need to rest, and I'm going to allow myself to rest. You know?
Does that help then eliminate, because when you say those things, and then I think about it, and I think about it from my own standpoint, and I think a lot of women do too, is that we were shamed into wanting help or needing help. Sometimes, like for me, at least for me, like that was a big thing in our family, is that you need to figure it out yourself, and you shouldn't need help, and you, like, if you need help, you're a problem.
Hell, God, yeah. I have a core memory of my dad having me climb a tree, and then it's a lot easier to get up a tree.
Yeah.
And then he was like, it was in our backyard, and I climbed up the tree, and I'm like, okay, I want to get down. And he's like, figure it out. And he went back inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of us were, and we want to do that. We want to raise independent, strong children. We want to raise independent, strong women. But we also want to raise kids that can say, I need help here.
Yeah.
I'm falling apart. This is hard.
Like, I can figure it out, but I also need your help.
Right. So like I've always told my kids, I'm like, you try it first, and then I will come help you if you really can't get it. That's a tough balance, but we have a society of women, and I'm going to maybe make some people mad, but we have a society of women like, I don't need no man. I don't need nobody. We need other people. If you didn't need other people, then there would be no other people on the planet with you. You need other people. We need our communities. We need our women friends. We need our relationships. Need might be a strong word. I don't need a man in my life. I don't need anybody to pay my bills, and so many of us are like that. I don't need anybody to take care of me. I can totally take care of myself. Do I want to have that? Do I want to have partnership? And do I want to have people show up for me? And do I want romantic love and all that? Yeah. Yeah. So maybe need is the wrong term. Maybe we want other people.
Yeah.
We want, no, I think need.
We need.
We need.
It's a primal need.
We need community.
Yeah. The primal need is community. What we want in the subset of that community, though, that's where our wants are. That's where we can determine, like, I want this, I want that. But the need of community
is there. It's there. I think we can all think about times where someone showed up for us in a ridiculous way. And not even, when I was adopting my youngest son, I had a ridiculous legal bill, and I will never forget this. April, I'm calling you out. But I was selling things in my home because I had to pay this attorney, and I was selling my camera that I loved, and I didn't really want to part with it. And she came and bought it, and she bought the camera, and she paid me for it. And then she handed me an extra $100. And I said, what's this for? And she said, this is God's money. And I'll never forget that. And it was like nothing, like, to her. She just like wanted to give me an extra $100 or whatever. But if we think about those times that people have shown up for us when we were really in a place of need, and we feel how that feels in our body, like, we should be feeling that. We should be feeling that level of receiving on a regular basis.
Amen.
If we're also putting out.
If someone's putting out.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, that's the story that I think of. So when we moved to Texas in 2013, we had our daughter in 2017. So I had her in January. And, like, I had a community, but not really. Like, I had a few friends and things like that from jobs, but it wasn't like a community. And so when I had my daughter, it was one of the most lonely feelings I've ever had, because I didn't have a mom to call.
Mhm.
Like no one's going to come save me. Jim went back to work, and here I am with this baby, brand new C-section, don't know what I'm doing. And I just felt so alone. So my postpartum depression with my daughter was horrendous. And then 3 months later, I waltzed into a networking meeting that we found on Colleyville Moms. And that's the meeting. I saw Sarah and I was like, she's mine. I'm going to keep her forever. But along with Sarah, there's probably 20 to 30 friends from that group that were all small business owners trying to figure it out. And so when I had Calvin just a year later, my postpartum was completely different because everyone showed up. There was dinners at my house every day for 2 weeks. Like people came to take the baby and make sure I could shower and that. So, but after so the difference between it truly was like the difference between life and death, because after Frankie, I wanted to die. And after Calvin, I felt alive, was my community.
Right. And your willingness to accept help.
Yes.
Because it really started with your willingness to accept help and maybe even ask for help.
Yeah.
It started there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Because beforehand I wouldn't ask at all.
It started there.
And that was, working on my worthiness.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I was worthy of people stopping and going. Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. There are, we've all done that for each other, and, people have done it for us. And that's that service piece. That's that service piece.
And it's wild, not to bring back, the year. We're coming down on the deadline of the memory of the year when 2020 hit. And the world was chaotic, and people were chaotic, and relationships were chaotic. Well, they kind of were beating it out of us to not serve each other. Community went away. And I think that's part of the reason why the revolution's happening right now, where everyone's coming back to community. Everyone's coming back into people's spaces. It's like, how close can I get to you?
Yeah.
Can I get into your skin? I don't know.
Yeah, like, can I get in your pouch?
Right, just like hold me.
Yeah.
And I think the community revolution is one of the most powerful.
I think so too. And it's important. Like my community of women, and that goes back to that, where we're doing for each other and we're hearing each other and we're seeing each other. My communities of women have always been the most important things to me. And I've had to rebuild it a few times.
Yeah.
I've had to rebuild that community. But what is so cool about, when we go back to boundaries again and like releasing, I just had a long-term friendship, and because it was really becoming very one-sided, and it was really becoming detrimental to my own mental health. And as much as we as healers, our biggest, I think, flaw is that we tend to under boundary. We tend to under boundary because we love people and we want to be present for them, and we want to sit with them in their pain, and we want to, that's what I do for a living. I sit with people in pain. But I had to really go, this is not serving. This is not serving. But in boundarying that and going, I can no longer support you in this situation. It's freed up so much time to get back to relationships that are equally reciprocal, and having conversations and touching base with old friends and things like that, because we don't realize, and it's like the frog in the pot of boiling water. We get in a situation and it's just happening. And this is what happened in my marriage. It's just happening, and you're just dealing with the day-to-day chaos, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter and more uncomfortable, and you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
You don't even notice it. We're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of this. And you're just doing the day-to-day, and you're in that survival, that primitive brain. And until something comes along to stop it, hopefully. And then you're like, wow, I cannot believe I allowed that shit for so long. Because now look what can come in.
Yeah.
Now look what can come in. Now I can go, oh, I have an extra 2 hours a day that I was listening to this person. Bless her heart, said with great love,
right?
To have conversations with people that uplift me and fill me, and that want to hear my stuff,
right?
And then I can hear theirs, and we can be supportive for each other. And I think that's the piece that people forget. It's like they know it, but when you and I am the queen of clearing stuff out, but when you clear stuff out of your life, whether it's physical stuff, I always tell people, I'm like, stop like with the clutter. Like, get the clutter out of your house. Get the clutter, get the people clutter out of your life. Get all the clutter out. When you clear stuff out and start over with this clean slate, then you get to be intentional about what you bring in, and so much cool stuff can happen. You know, and it's literally like watching an episode of Hoarders, right? Where the people are like, they have all of this shit and it's just piled up in boxes or whatever, and it's like, it's a health hazard. Toxic relationships and toxic people can be a health hazard. It affects us physically. I was sick the entire time I was married to my ex-husband. I was sick a lot. Hadn't been sick since he left. So have not been sick since he left. So they can be toxic. And then you have this team of people that go in there, which is kind of like what we do. We go in there and we're like, and clear all this stuff out. And we're going to like remodel and paint the walls and clean the rugs or whatever. And then they do the after and it's like, oh, it's so pretty. And then there's like a lot of empty rooms that these people get to decorate, you know? And unfortunately, some of them fill it back up with a bunch more junk. But that's not...
And more healing has to happen.
But this is what's happening in our lives when we're talking about allowing. If you look at your life like a house and everything that comes in the door, you get to say yes or no to. That is like how you need to look at it. Is this serving me? Is this creating the house that I want to have? Is this creating the environment that I want to have? Yeah. And then also we have to look at the ways that we are preventing ourselves from receiving. When we're saying no, when we should say yes. When we're not asking for help, when we should ask for help. When we're not allowing people to show up for us because we don't want to appear weak and vulnerable or whatever. I will tell you, the people around you that love you, that you can trust, that you can be vulnerable and safe with, want to do stuff for you. They want to do things for you. Let them. Let them.
Let them. Amen.
Yeah.
It's the other side of Mel Robbins. Let them.
Yeah. And if they want to be jerks, let them. Somewhere else.
Yeah. Oof. Shoot. All I could see too.
That was so good.
All I could see when you're talking about the house too is like when you want to receive, if there was a gigantic cement wall around your house, Amazon can't bring you your packages. Yeah. So start knocking down your walls.
Yeah, and also too, you know, like an exercise people can do, it's like if you're thinking about this, your house, you can even draw a house on a piece of paper and you can write all the things that are in it. You know, not the physical things, but all of the relationships, the people, the stuff, what all is in there, and start really evaluating what's in there. And then draw a moat around it and what is in there that's preventing people from getting close to you or coming in and helping you and being there for you. What's in the moat? You know, what are your defense mechanisms? Why are they there? For me, it's like having the conversation with my mom, like, oh, so much of this is generational. You know?
Yeah, your ancestors dumped shit in the moat and can't get out.
Yeah.
We have invasive species.
But I mean, but you know, we got to get in there with like this scooper that they use when people poop in the public pool. You know, the net. We got to get in there with the net, and we have to fish that out because it's poisoning the water. We don't need a moat with everybody. Some people deserve to have to cross a moat to get to us. People that have hurt us or wounded us that want to come back in that space, they need to do some work to get there. They got to jump through the shark-infested waters. Maybe we can't ever let them back in, but sometimes we can say, hey, maybe you can come back in, but they got to be able to come in and do the work to earn their way back in. Everybody doesn't just get to show up.
No. Oh, man.
They don't get to show up.
No.
Not everybody. There are people that have wounded us and have shown us who they are too many times. You know, like in Maya Angelou, when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. It usually takes us like 10 or 20 or 50, you know, but they don't get to come back in. Sometimes people shift and change and do some of their own personal work and they're able to come back around and be in a more healed place and be in our lives. And I think that's where grace comes in. We should, you know, but some people are a hell no.
Yeah.
Some people are, my ex-husband does not ever deserve to get to be in my space again because he's shown me what he's going to do with it.
Yeah.
I had a relative that was you know, we had some difficulties or whatever, and now I can allow her in a certain space.
Yeah.
So that
Only a
house
certain part of
metaphor.
the house.
Some people just get to hang out in the driveway and talk to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're allowing we're allowing those driveway people to come in and sit in our kitchen for 4 hours.
Yeah.
No,
Mm-mm.
you're a driveway person.
Yeah. You're a driveway person. You don't get to cross the road ever again.
You're a front porch, you know, cup of coffee person. You can hang out in the backyard of my patio. You can have my guest room.
Yeah.
Are we allowing people in spaces that they deserve to be in?
Mm. Most people aren't. They're just
A lot of
letting them
people
go anywhere.
They're just letting them go in.
Yeah.
Just, you know. And
Here, I'll be a rug on my floor for you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's where that boundary comes in. I'm happy to talk to you about this in the driveway.
Yeah.
You know.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is good. I mean, it's not going to be the first time you're on this podcast, so because just the things that come out of your mouth are liquid gold, and I think that's one of the things I've appreciated about you the most is that in all of my ugly and all of my struggles and all of the hard times over the last 8 years now of our lives, like you've allowed me to come in a mess, never judged me, and then helped care for me as I go to the next cycle. And so we are going to I'm going to link Sarah's information in the show notes. But Sarah, how do people find you?
You can find me at yarningshaman.com. I'm also on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. TikTok is a lot of blended family, conscious divorce stuff over there. But I'm all the places. You can Google Sarah Beth Green or Yarning Shaman and find me and have a chat with me that way.
And I promise you that you do want to, whether it's shamanic healing, which I think everyone should do, or any kind of meditation. She does something that we've done on a majority of my clients and a lot of my friends, where she helps find your soul again and helps you find your worth and all of that. So if anything, you've done all of the things and nothing seems to work to get you back to you. Even if you haven't done all of the things, Sarah does excellent work in helping you.
The soul retrievals.
Soul retrievals.
Soul retrievals are my very favorite thing to do. They're magical and they're powerful, and I would do them all day long, every day.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. She did mine. Actually, funny story, and then we will let you go. But she did mine the day after I saw my dad. And so, was it the day after or the day before?
It was right around.
It was the same time, which was a huge transformative part of my life. Like forever, the summer of 2022 is going to be the year that I'm like, that was the platform at which I exploded my life. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it's been nothing but magic ever since. So if you need something, she's very good. She's your person. She is it. So we will link all of her information in the show notes. Sarah, I love you.
I love you.
I love you so much. And I love spending time with you. And I'm glad to give you as a gift to my people. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we will see you all next week.